Earthrise Cliffjumper is a figure that myself and many others have reviled and lambasted since its release, and for good reason. He is extremely small for his price point, even under the ever-lowering standards of modern Transformers fans, and attempted to make up for the price differential with a shit ton of accessories and above-average engineering, with the biggest air quotes imaginable. In reality, the transformation was a complete cheat, with a good quarter of the vehicle mode parts forming into the first of many unconvincing shields scattered through Earthrise. However, there comes a time in every niche internet nano-celebrity's life when you just embrace some hypocrisy and have some fun. Welcome to Kit Katastrophe. My name is Kit, and today we'll be taking a look at Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Deluxe Class Bumblebee. This heroic Autobot was released in 2020 as part of Wave 2 of the Deluxe assortment, which was in turn exclusive to Walmart and is a retool and redeco of Earthrise Deluxe Class Cliffjumper. This review was requested by Afik and Akmal. If there's a figure you'd like to see me review, feel free to leave a suggestion in the comments. It's not out of the ordinary anymore for Bumblebee to turn into a fully licensed Volkswagen Beetle. We've had 3 different Masterpiece figures and countless iterations of Nightverse Bumblebee in Studio Series and the movie-specific toy line for it to just be a regular part of Transformers nowadays. This is, however, the first instance I can recall of a Chug figure having a licensed alternate mode. Oftentimes, generations would skirt around paying automobile and other vehicle manufacturers for the use of their designs, changing the designs just enough to be legally distinct, sort of like the way third-party companies do things. War for Cybertron Trilogy Bumblebee, however, is a 100% bona fide Volkswagen Beetle, and what a Beetle it is! This is a marvelously sculpted vehicle mode, and is especially nice considering it's not about to burst at the seams like the Studio Series figure. Sadly, it's a whole lot smaller, which is doubly sad considering how much I harped on the size of that aforementioned Studio Series figure, being absolutely dwarfed by Classics Bumblebee, which sold for half the price. Yeesh. Sadly, I don't have Earthrise Cliffjumper on hand to compare at the moment, but I can assure you that Bumblebee here feels substantially bigger, thanks in part to the much higher roof. In an unexpected turn of events, both the front and rear bumpers are made of a soft rubber that's found nowhere else on either him or Cliffjumper. Also, part of the trunk panel on my copy is covered in pockmarks that have been there since I took him out of the box. No idea what caused them. Unsurprisingly, Bumblebee's transformation is entirely identical to that of Cliffjumper, with the same shameful parts-forming hood. Well, it was the trunk on Cliffjumper, but you get the point. The handle is just as hard to get out with short nails as it was originally. Untabbing everything else is actually easier on Bumblebee, with the exception of the roof. The tabs that keep it locked in place in either mode are far longer than on Cliffjumper, meaning you have to apply a whole lot more pressure to get it popped open, which is a little scary considering it's clear plastic we're talking about here. So far, no stress marks have appeared on my copy. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something about Bumblebee's robot mode that's far more enticing to me than Cliffjumper's. It's not the proportions, they're basically identical with the exception of a slightly more pudgy torso. It's not the color layout either, it's also mostly unchanged, though Bumblebee's shoulders remain black and his waist is painted yellow. It's also not his head sculpt, wonderful as it is, resembling his recent appearances in IDW more than the Sumbo show model. And it most definitely is not the backpack, which doesn't like to sit straight no matter what I do, as if it's magnetically repelled from the tires. So what is it then? Maybe it's all these, except for that last one, of course. While he indulges in the sin of his brother, Bumblebee makes slight improvements here and there that add up to more than the sum of their parts, and really make me see him in a new light. He's still small, though. Shame about that. War for Cybertron Trilogy Bumblebee is wonderfully articulated, with 23 dedicated points of articulation. In the review I made of Earthrise Cliffjumper way back when, I was unaware of a hinge joint in his neck that allows him to look down. Apparently, Bumblebee has this as well, though if it exists, mine is too tight for me to be comfortable demonstrating, so let's just take the wiki's word for it. Granting a figure of this stature such range of posability is no small feat, and is partly the reason for his ludicrous price tag. The other part being his large amount of weapons and accessories. Much like Hubcap, Bugbite, and Bumblebee again. This bee comes with a repaint of Cliffjumper's Rifle Zuka, or D-paint I should say. It lacks some silver trim on the stock. It comes apart to form some smaller blasters and a billy club, or augment the Volkswagen Beetle with some skis and rocket boosters. The Beetle backpack also doubles as a very, very unconvincing shield, a flimsy excuse for parts forming, and an issue that plagues every version of the mold. I've already given my opinion of this mold, twice now actually, since I'm just wrapping up. This kind of tomfoolery on Hasbro's part is not something I think should be rewarded, which is rich coming from me considering I bought Cliffjumper, and this is my second Bumblebee, the first of whom was broken right out the box, so I sent him to Mav Station for a custom he wanted to do. The endless procession, or recession if you will, of downsizing and price hiking is getting extremely tiresome, and while the engineering has been stellar in some recent examples, it's starting to get to a point of no return. Which is why after Kingdom ends, I don't see myself collecting the current lines with nearly as much gusto as I do now, and instead I will be focusing on back collecting. That said, if you enjoyed Cliffjumper, then Bumblebee is definitely for you. If you don't like Cliffjumper, or just skipped him entirely, then the decision was already made. I enjoy Bumblebee marginally more than his Crimson cousin, but not enough for him to escape the rank of tragic. Now, if you excuse me, I have to purchase a third version of this fucking mold just to get some Fangry action in my life. If you liked this video or otherwise found it helpful or informative, then please subscribe for more reviews like this in the future, and feel free to suggest topics for future reviews in the comments. When we return, it's time to finally close the Earthrise chapter of this trilogy. This has been Kit Katastrophe. Transform and roll out.